Is it fair that people should lose their jobs if they don't get
Thanks,
vaccinated?
Corinne.
Is it fair that people should lose their
Hamburger.
jobs if they don't get vaccinated? Their livelihoods?
Thanks, Corinne.
Go ahead, Kate. Go ahead, Kate.
Abigail Spamberger, a Democratic congresswoman from Virginia, is issuing a warning about the president's sweeping agenda today, telling the New York Times, quote, "Nobody elected him to be FDR. They elected him to be normal and stop the chaos." Has he seen that quote, and what is the president's response?
You know, I don't know if the president has seen that quote. I'll say this. It's been reported, the way that we see it, one of the best arguments for the Build Back Better Act is that 17 Nobel Prize winners in economics agree that it will reduce inflationary pressures. I mean, that is incredibly important, especially in the moment that we are currently dealing with this pandemic and trying to get this on the other side of that. The Wall Street analytics from Moody's said the same, and they just put out another analysis today with the Build Back Better framework that the president put out. And so, again, Build Back Better, as we have said, is fully paid for and will even reduce the deficit over the long term. So we cannot wait. We have to move forward. We have to get this done for the American people. We have to make sure that we invest in our infrastructure. We have to ensure we invest in our human infrastructure, as we like to say it. And we're talking about childcare. You know, there are parents out there who are paying way too much out of their paycheck for childcare. So this makes sure that parents don't pay more than 7%. We're talking about middle class tax cut. When you look at the child tax credit, which has cut child poverty by 50%. That's what we're talking about. Universal pre-K. This is incredibly important and popular with the American public.
With this quote, she seems to be saying the president is trying to do too much, too fast, and has an agenda that is bigger than what voters wanted the president to do and why they put him in office. Does he agree with that? Did Tuesday night reaffirm
Caitlin,
that?
I'll say this, the president has been talking about his Build Back Better agenda for over a year. 81 million people voted almost a year ago to put this president where he is right now to make sure that we deliver for the American public. So this was out there over a year ago. So, we're trying to make sure, the president is trying to make sure that we continue the investment that we started with the American Rescue Plan. We are in the middle of a pandemic, where millions of people have left the workforce, including women, where we need to make sure that we have, again, childcare. We need to make sure that we do this historical investment and also climate change. Do historical investment in really tackling the climate change. So this is not too much. This is what needs to happen, and it should have happened decades ago. It's been some time since we actually invested in our country and invested in the American public.
And just a quick follow on the CBO score question that moderate House Democrats are saying they'd like to see that before they can commit to voting for this legislation. Are you saying that the president does not agree that they need to see the CBO score since you're citing this Treasury assessment?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that we are doing our due diligence. We put out our numbers through the Treasury blog. We're, to make sure that people are aware of, the revenue and how much this is going to raise. And so we think that's important. So we're taking those steps as well. The JCT is what I was just talking about. That's one part. CBO will be next. I don't know the timing. That's something that happens on the House. But here on our end, we're trying to make sure that we put out as much information as we can and be as transparent as we can be.
Okay, last quick question on the president's schedule. Will he stay in town this weekend if they have not passed these two bills yet and are still working on it?
I can't speak to the president's schedule at this time.
Karine.
Go ahead.
Back to Steve's question of what he's doing today on this. Has he spoken with lawmakers? Is he speaking with any specific lawmakers, if not Joe Manchin?
So he's continuing to talk to members in Congress today, as he has been since he arrived from Europe. That is going to be a continuing process that he'll be doing. I do not have any calls to predict for you at this time. As you know, we keep calls private between the president and the members that he's calling.
The Moody's report that you guys are using to point out that economists are backing up your claims that it's all paid for and that it'll help pay down inflation also makes an interesting point about, it says its most serious concern with the legislation is around execution risk, or that is that it is a complex piece of legislation, quote, with lots of massive moving parts. Successfully organizing them would be difficult even among the best managed private companies. Scaling up existing programs as envisioned in the legislation is one thing, standing up new programs and tax policy is another. They say later it's especially the case for much of the new policy related to addressing climate change. The last time Democrats implemented a big bill, this president had an expression for it, there were some implementation problems. What would this administration say about its preparations for implementing all this and ensuring lawmakers, as they prepare to vote for it, and the American public, that all of this will roll out as prescribed in law?
Well, as you can imagine, Ed, this is incredibly important to the president, right? This is something, as I mentioned to Caitlin, that he's been working on or talking about for over a year now. And so, we're going to do everything that we can once this gets passed to make sure that is indeed implemented and that the American public gets the relief that they need. That breathing room that the president talked about yesterday and he continues to talk about. This is incredibly important. This is going to change the lives of millions of Americans. And we're going to continue to make sure that we get that implemented in a way that's effective and gets to the American public.